What happens when the person you're relying on for change stops giving you compliance? You need a flight of the Navigator.
We're so not going to get any views.
Oh, it was funny.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Ramsey!
The three people who got my reference to the classic Fred Savage science fiction children's movie Flight of the Navigator are going to really laugh at that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably neither one of our viewers. Probably.
If you're one of the Flight of the Navigator fans who tuned into this episode, please mention it in the comments.
I can see some consultant going, we think we've figured out why you don't have 1 million listeners. We've figured it out. Like, you know, we've got a bullet pointed list. It's only got one bullet point on it.
Your references are stupid.
Yeah, let's start with obscure references. There's a reason Dennis Miller is no longer on the air.
Oh my gosh, but he was so funny. Anyway, really says a lot,
Another
but that's where I go.
reference.
Yeah, right.
Here's how old I am. I was doing a training in Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay.
The hometown of John Mellencamp. I was playing some Mellencamp songs. Well, he's from Seymour, but yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, I think he
lives in that area.
All right,
so
okay.
They claim him as their son. So I'm playing some songs, some Mellencamp songs, and there's a young person in the room, and I said, do you know who John Mellencamp is?
Oh, no.
And they went, no. They're like, okay, you live in the town. There's a portrait of him on a building.
Sure.
Life size, beyond life size mural.
Yeah.
But yeah, my reference, even my music, just is going past the young people. It's over.
Well, that's going to happen more and more. That's going to happen more and more. Well, I could talk about this for a long time because this is, it's about finding your niche, and you're going to pursue your niche by having deep knowledge, and then the people that are attracted to that are going to be attracted to your content that you're putting out. This is what they tell people like you and I, right? Like, know a whole lot about one thing. I know a little bit about a lot of different dumb things. So we're doomed, Mike, as me as your co-host. But all that being said, all that silliness being said, this topic is evergreen because we are all part of organizations. It could be your church. In fact, it's often a church. It could be your office. It could be a little league team, a sports team that your kids are a part of. It could be a community, organizer, I guess, for lack of a better term, somebody who's a big volunteer in the community. And they have been a navigator. They have been one of those people willing to say, let's try it. Let's go for it. Let's make this happen. And at some point, you sense burnout. These are people who are good at navigating. They're good at being that person that sort of ends up leading change from the front. And they burn out, because they're done with dealing with change. They're sick of seeing change not carried out all the way. They don't feel like they're supported, and we put this in our notes. Sustaining the healthy response of navigating change requires systems and personal practices for that person that protect their energy, their dignity, their feeling of worth to the organization and themselves, protecting that over time. And we just want to kind of get into that. It's a follow-up to the last episode. We talked about all 5 of those personas that approach change, but the navigators are the ones we're hoping for, the ones we're trying to encourage, because they're the ones that are going to make this actually happen on the front lines. But man, can they get burnt out after a while. So that's what today's episode is about.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you've got, I think every manager has, or hopefully they have, their go-to guy.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating is many times you get to be a manager by being someone else's go-to guy.
You are a go-to guy.
Yeah, and I hear this all the time for managers. They're like, "All right, I was his go-to guy. He got promoted. Then they moved me up. Why I don't have a go-to guy."
Yeah.
So that's one of their first jobs is to create, is to develop, is to foster a go-to person.
Yeah.
When you move into management, you're already going to get a plethora of victims, critics, bystanders, and chargers. Yeah, that, trust me, the inventory will be stocked. Navigators, the go-to guy, those are rare and beautiful things. And when you think about, when you talk to managers, they'll say the same thing. It was like, man, when you think about what my manager did, I was actually the one who carried the load.
Yep.
He would come up with the big idea. He'd introduce it to the team, and then he'd go back in his office, and then I was the one as a peer-to-peer navigator, helping everybody get on board and figure it out and get it to the implementation phase. And so when you think about that, so you've got this person, you're relying upon them, and you keep going back to the well. At some point, the well can run dry.
That's right. That's right. And in fact, this is being researched by sociologists in our day and age of just the issue of constant change. Mm-hmm. You get change fatigue. It's a real thing. I've got a book by Jean Twenge, I believe is how you pronounce her name. It's back here somewhere. Anyway, I've got this book. It's I can't find. That I can't find. It's really good though. Let me tell you. But it's about the idea of the newer generations. Her book is called Generation Me. That was her first big hit. She's had a lot since then. But just sort of the idea that we do have a generation who I think she says they're more empowered and they're more confident and they're more miserable than ever before. That was her sort of tag on the millennials, and her research since then with other generations. It's like there is a rising mental health crisis. It is real. It is not pretend. There's a challenge with energy sapping of younger generations, and they're constantly disrupted. Nothing. There's nothing steady going on in their lives. Whether you look at their family environment, the economy, wars and rumors of wars, et cetera, et cetera. So change fatigue is real, and if that sounds like we're making that a little too broad, I mean, just think about how many repeated initiatives have you had in your workplace? The latest, greatest flavor of the month that's come along that you've had to implement. How many of them are unfinished? How many of those things that they said we were going to do actually didn't get done? And then, are you constantly having to adapt to that? Because if you are probably depleted to some degree on your, adaptation energy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the idea that when you think about these young people, you hear this all the time, they talk about anxiety.
Yes.
Right? That word, when you think about young people, they talk about how anxious they are and how this idea of continuous disruption.
Yep.
Where things just are constantly changing doesn't allow them to get comfortable. And at a certain point, they just wear out.
Yeah.
And so when you've got this person, your go-to person, and man, they've been your champion. They've been the first one, at your side, leading change. You start to look for, okay, have I put too much on them? Is it this continuous sequence of changes just been too much? And so you start to look for signs that your navigator is becoming exhausted.
Yes. Here's where we get practical. Give us the list here.
You look at, all right, decreased curiosity, growing cynicism.
Yeah.
And they'll disguise that as realism.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is a great idea, but I just don't think it's going to work right now, or it's too soon or too late, or
Probably some
Withdrawal.
sarcasm with that.
Yeah, it might be so. Oh, great, another change.
Yep. Yep.
Let's run towards it. And
Yep.
so, withdrawal from optional effort, or what Pamela Cole calls discretionary effort, right?
Yeah.
That little extra where they're helping their peers when it's not their responsibility. They're staying late to figure out how to get the software to work properly, or how to get the workspace redesigned so that it works. All that little extra stuff, you start to see it
Yep.
diminish.
Yep.
And then there's that quiet resentment towards those who keep launching new changes.
Right.
And sometimes it's not so quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's eventually spilling over.
Yeah, it's like, hey, can these people just pick a direction, pick
Yeah.
a program, pick an org chart, pick a something, a process, and just leave it alone.
Right.
And so, you start to see that creep into somebody that it wasn't present there before. In the last 4 change efforts that they helped me to lead,
Right.
none of that was there.
Yes. And I would say, we've talked about this in the last episode a little bit, but, why is this happening? So this isn't why is there resistance to change. We talked about in the last episode what might be causing that. There's a fear of loss of something. But in our case, what we're talking about is somebody who has been promoting change, is willing to go there and be that, be that navigator. But at this point, it's costing them some of their self-worth. Mm-hmm. It's, in fact, another book back here. Wait, I know where this one is.
Yeah, right.
No, really. I'm just looking at it a minute ago.
It's the one right in the center, third shelf down in the middle.
Yes, it's right over here. I know it's over here. Anyway, the point is, there it is. I found it. God Bless America. Leading with Dignity by Donna Hicks, PhD. I believe she's in Yale. She's at Yale, I think. But her book talks about violations to dignity, violations to someone's self-worth can basically cause harm to the organization as much as to the individual. And so some of her examples, she has like a list of 10 violations of dignity and 10 things you can do to reinforce someone's dignity. And, it's recognition, it's fairness, it's safety, sometimes physical safety, sometimes psychological safety. But those are like, if you're a human being who's worth something, then you deserve to be recognized as an individual. You deserve to be treated fairly. You deserve to be in safety. And, think about it. If the change is starting to make me feel less competent and I'm not getting the kind of, recognition that I'm used to,
right?
It's a loss of dignity. If the change is making me feel like, my job or my paycheck's in danger, that's a safety issue, right? So fairness could be, this just all seems so arbitrary. I don't know why this change is happening to this person, but not to this person. I don't know how it's affecting that, that person's paycheck and not mine in a positive way. Those are all, she would call them dignity violations. And so if you're not addressing that, as the leader of the workplace, you're going to get a burnout.
Mm-hmm. Well said. The idea that, I just don't feel like what's coming back to me is equal to what I'm giving.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving all of myself this discretionary extra effort, and in turn I don't feel like I'm getting some of those things, the respect, the recognition, things like that.
Well said.
You think about what you tend to do, you think of habits. So the manager's habit is to always go back to the same person.
Yep.
All right, here's another change. I'll always rely on this same navigator. And so at some point, you as the manager have to figure out, okay, have I maxed out their capacity for leading change or helping me to lead change?
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Yeah, maybe we're still in the midst of one, and they've been my navigator for that one. Then I say, all right, here's another one that has to happen. do I have to go to that person? And if I do they have the capacity to follow through? So am I over relying on the same few navigators?
Yeah, I think that is really wise, and that can be, it could be the same team, it could be the same group. I had a team that were so good at developing new hires that their new hires kept getting sucked out to run other departments.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of turned over their department 3 times in the course of 2 years. And so they were, there was a lot of change, but they didn't have capacity because they couldn't hire people fast enough. Well, they sort of had to redefine what they were doing. They were like, no, we're the proving grounds of this whole company. They had to find some self-worth there, that we're doing a good thing here, and that kept that gave them some fuel in the tank. But you think about it, that's a capacity issue at some point. And leadership needs to be aware of that, not just the navigator themselves.
Oh yeah. So the navigator feeling it, is management aware of it as well?
Exactly.
It reminds me of I can almost hear this navigator who's at capacity channeling the Mother Teresa quote.
Yep.
And Mother Teresa said, "The good Lord will never give me more than I can handle. I just wish he didn't trust me so much."
Right.
Like, this seems like a lot that you're piling on here.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and a lot of times I've found that the navigator, because they enjoy being the navigator.
Yeah.
It's part of their persona that they don't raise their hand and say, I've reached my limit. I'm at capacity.
Well, that's something I really wanted to talk about in this episode. Is there have to be some things that you encourage your navigators to do, right? There are some. It's on them. They have to make the choice on if they're going to put something on their shoulders or not. But they should be making sure that they're doing enough. I guess nowadays we call it self-care. I kind of hate that term. But the idea of, like, you need to get rest, you need to unplug. I'll use the old-fashioned term. You need a Sabbath. You need a day where you pause. Where you are at rest. You need to make sure that the things that are energizing to you, you're getting to do. Whether it's exercise, spending time with family, a hobby, whatever it is. You need to not just let this workplace be the center of the universe for you. And related to that very heavily is the idea of boundaries. I know what's me and I know what's you, and there's a clear line between the two. And that's probably we're probably going to need to do a Henry Cloud episode at some point, because I don't know that we ever have. That's about a series of 10 podcast episodes. But the idea of being able to say no, and that it's okay to say no. Because it's for the best interests of both parties involved that we have this boundary here. So what does it look like to say no and know that your boss just needs to know? I was working with a car dealership recently, and that was part of what they were having to talk about was I'm going to keep giving you more until you tell me. Please tell me when you're at capacity. I'm totally fine with it. I just need to know because you're taking on so much. That's a good boss, right? That's a boss saying, I need to know the boundary line. I need you to make sure you have a boundary line. And then just spending time thinking about what can I control? What are the things that I can actually have some influence on? Because if I can't have influence on it, maybe I don't need to be spinning my wheels trying to help others when I can't really help them. They need to have a conversation with their boss that this isn't working or there's a problem there, and it's not on me as the navigator to deal with that. Again, a good boss, a good leadership team is going to make sure your navigators don't get in those situations where they're burning out that way.
Oh yeah, and you can help that person by helping them clarify their boundaries.
Yes.
And say, hey, I see you've spent a lot of time with so and so. just on your own trying to help them with this, that's not your, I appreciate it, but that's not your responsibility. Let me take that, right? If they come to you with a question, redirect them to me, or, it's okay to say, right, I'm at capacity. I can't help you with that right now. Here are some other resources that can do that.
Yeah.
And give them permission to create their own boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's okay, right? I won't think less of you because you're not
Right.
the full-time, all over the top navigator, because you have your own work to do. You're learning this yourself, plus you're trying to help the rest of the team.
Yep.
Right. I see that.
Huge. Let's talk about a few more of those things that the leaders can do, practices to sustain the navigators. First off, don't do too many changes at once. It's just, there's only so much people can do. And you may need to give them a better sequence of, here's the rollout. This is what we anticipate happening as we move through this change, so people know a little bit of what's coming. Mm-hmm. And something that we have, I believe we've done an episode on milestones, and recognition of what's happened with people. But sometimes we need to have a little bit of a celebration or an acknowledgement that, hey, that initiative is now done. Mission accomplished. We're moving on to the next thing, so people can feel a sense of, okay, that burden is gone. That thing that we were intentionally focusing on is now just part of the whirlwind. It's just part of our day-to-day world here. We've finished carrying that change load, and now we're moving on and have the ability to move on to another thing. And then recognize the individuals, right? Recognize those navigators for the fact that they are navigating. One of the things that makes Will Guidero's books so interesting, the guy that wrote Unreasonable Hospitality, we recently had some episodes talking about his books. His books are full of the individuals who helped bring about a change. Some cases it was their cool idea. In some cases it was them who figured out how to do it. And so the books are littered with the names of former, current employees, people that have now, become a part of his, Will Guidero organization, outside of the restaurant. But he's constantly giving the credit outside of, I am the visionary leader who came up with this. No, he doesn't do that. What he does is he says, look at all these cool people who figured out how to bring this to life. And so that's a huge role of the leader. It's maybe a little bit of a reframing for some people because they're not used to being, they want to be the visionary leader, but really it's about serving that team who make it happen.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If everybody on the team plays well and the team wins, the coach will get credit.
Yeah, that's right.
The coach doesn't have to take credit.
That's right.
So other things you can think about is make sure the navigator knows that what they're doing is not permanent.
Yeah.
How many times it's like, yeah, I took this on and now they just expect me to do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's not in my job description. It's not part of my roles and responsibility. And sometimes we hear and they're not paying me to do this. Yep. I see you putting in discretionary above and beyond effort.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know that this, as this change becomes part of just what we do here, that's not a permanent role that you will be playing.
Yeah.
It's wildly helpful in this change, but don't think that we're going to make that part of everything that you do unless it's something that you want to do, and then we'll talk about how your role may evolve.
Yeah, sure.
And what that could look like in the future.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, that's a good final piece of advice that this is temporary, and you are temporarily going through something in your workplace right now. So let's lay down sort of a challenge as we close here. There's that one change that's going on right now in your workplace, and maybe it's draining more energy right now than it's creating. It's not that the change is wrong. It's not that this is a bad change, but you're recognizing that this is draining more energy than it should be. So take our list, everything that we've talked about from conversations you can have with the navigator, things that you can do as the leadership or the organization, ways that you can reframe this. And what's one adjustment? Maybe it's personal for you as the boss. Maybe it's an organizational change that would reduce the fatigue without abandoning the progress that you're making with this change. So what, identify what that thing is that's sucking more energy than it should, and what's one thing you could tweak and try for the next 30 days to see if it can alleviate that problem.
Excellent. Yeah, within the limits of your HR policies and procedures and guidelines, go out and literally or metaphorically give your go-to person a hug. They just need some love. Because where would you be without them? And where would we be without John Wolf?
Darn right.
Our always loyal voiceover announcer.
That's exactly right.
Take it away, Mr. Wolf.
So go ahead and tweet that, or share it any other way you want. As always, there are no rights reserved, no trademarks, no copyrights. Share it if you want to. And join us next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.